Hello, everyone. We're going to get started. Welcome, everyone, to the housing webinar for the School of Social Work. My name is Jalea. I'll be your host for today. Just an introduction about myself. I am an advanced standing student. I'll be graduating this month. My concentration was community organization and health. I'm 12 months. My placement was at CAN, Community Action Network, and I'll be happy to answer questions and meeting you guys. We're going to go around and introduce ourselves, the panelists. Anybody can start.
I'll go ahead and start. My name is Alberto Martinez. I'm a 16-month student. I'm also a geriatric scholar. My focus is management of human services with a focus on aging and families in society. Take it off, Jordan.
Hey everyone, my name is Jordan. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am a 16-month student. My area is social policy and evaluation within communities and social systems. And I'm excited to answer some questions. I live off campus, pretty far away, so I'm a commuter student, so I can answer some questions about transportation and those types of things. Tammy, did you want to go ahead?
No problem. Thank you, Jordan. So I'm Tammy, and I'm also 16 months current student. My concentration is community organization and focus in child, youth, and families. I also lived off campus, and I lived right in the South University, South U, an apartment called the University Towers. The reason why I chose there is only 5 minutes walking from the School of Social Work, so which is very convenient, and especially in winter. I don't need to be outdoors a long time. And another reason is because it's easy for me to access everything, such as the train store, 7-Eleven, restaurants, bank branches, ATMs, and etc. So any questions about maybe living in South universities, you can ask me. So I will hand over to Janelle.
Hey everyone, my name is Janelle, pronouns she, her, hers. I am an advanced standing focusing on interpersonal practice and mental health. My placement was in at a private practice called Sunfield Center in Carytown, which is kind of in the center of Ann Arbor. But I lived off campus in the neighboring town of Ypsilanti. And I took the bus into school when we were in person, so I might be able to answer some questions specifically about finding apartments in Ypsi and what the bus system can look like around here. And I will pass it to Alicia.
Hi, my name is Alicia Sutton. I am a 16-month student, social policy and evaluation in community and social systems. I am a commuter student. I commute about 45 minutes from campus. I have a family where I live. I'm actually in another state, but it's right across the Michigan line. And so I will also be glad to answer any questions you have if your commute is as far as mine.
Is that everyone? So we have a variety of experiences on campus, off campus, and commuters. I'm going to start off with my experience, and then we're going to get into some questions. So I am an advanced standing student. I started in September, even though I was here in August. I started off living on campus in a dorm, Martha Cook, which is an undergrad and graduate female dorm. It's literally maybe 20 steps from the School of Social Work, so it's very convenient. Martha Cook, I lived in a double. There are single, doubles, and triples available in Martha Cook. It also comes with a dining hall, which is very beneficial. Going from school to internships and work, and not having time to always cook. Martha Cook was a little bit more expensive, but it did come with a lot of things involved with it, activities and leadership roles and things like that. I did decide to move to Munger, which I am here now. It's a graduate apartment for only graduate students. I decided to move because Martha Cook didn't offer, it was only housing for fall and winter, and I was here for the summer semester, so I needed a place to stay. So I decided to contact housing, and they had availability for Munger. Here, I do live in a 7-bedroom suite. There are 6-bedroom suites and 7-bedroom suite. In Munger, you can also have co-ed or all-female, all-male. It's up to you. I currently live in an all-female suite with 6 roommates. Here in Munger, you can have your own bedroom, queen-size bed. It's pretty spacious. Bathroom, you get your own bathroom. The only thing you share is a living room, dining room, kitchen, which comes with double, appliances, refrigerator, stove, and things like that. It also comes with a laundry room. They have a gym, which is closed right now because of everything. A mailing office for packages. There is a rooftop track, which is still open for runners and walkers. There's a lot of lounges and study rooms and computer labs and things like that. So that is also an option for graduate students, Munger and Martha Cook. Also, Northwood Apartments is another option, which is furnished or unfurnished, and there is parking included with that. And Henderson House, which is another option for graduate students. So we're going to get started with some questions. The first question I see is on-campus housing offered for graduate students? MSW students, and if so, what is the percentage of students who choose on-campus housing versus off-campus apartment living? And for convenience sake, which is usually preferred among the MSW students?
That's a really good question. So as Julia was mentioning, there are a lot of on-campus housing options. I'm one of the students who chose to live off campus, and that does tend to be a more popular option among MSW students, though I do know a lot of other graduates in other PhD programs who do live on campus. I chose to live off campus because it tends to be a little bit cheaper, as well as provides more flexibility in terms of if you have roommates you want to live with, or if you're planning on living with a partner. Then off-campus allows for a little bit more flexibility in that. I chose to live in the neighboring town of Ypsilanti, which tends to be even cheaper than Ann Arbor, which kind of my main reason for going to Ypsilanti. The downside is the commute is a little bit longer, especially since I was taking the bus. That added extra time than if I was driving. However, I will mention the bus is free, which is amazing. It's free to students with your student ID. You swipe it as you would swipe a regular bus card, and the university pays for it, which is extremely, extremely helpful. Yeah, we don't keep track of the percentage of students who live on or off campus. But a lot of people do tend to live off campus rather than on campus.
For me, I also live in Ypsilanti, so I opted to live off campus. I found it for me, more convenient because of the price. Ypsilanti does seem to be a little on the more uh, less expensive side. There are buses. There's a bus. It's like a 5-minute bus walk from my place to the bus, and then the bus directly drops me off, maybe like 1 block away from the School of Social Work. So that was very convenient for me. And then definitely for winters, like if you don't want to drive your car, you just wanted to take the bus, that was always an option. I would always go early because if I waited maybe around 9:30, that's when there was usually a lot of students on the bus. So I would say if you have class early on in the morning, I would leave like maybe 30 minutes before, because I think the bus drive from where I live is about a 15-20 minute bus drive. So yeah, that's been my experience. I've enjoyed it. There's a lot of really nice areas down in Ypsi, like Depot Town, which is a great place to go get coffee. It's very hallmark, so there's a lot of like little small shops, like antique shops, little restaurants. There's like a little nice river that runs through there. So it's really great in that area. So I would definitely suggest Ypsi if you're looking for something that's less expensive, but there's still a lot of options around the area for you to go out with friends, or just take in nature and the whole graduate experience.
Thank you, Alberto and Janelle, for sharing your off-campus experiences. We're going to go into the next question I see. For the advanced standing students, do you feel as if the year was long enough to prepare you? I can start with that. Coming straight out of undergrad to grad school, I thought I was going to be done with school. I didn't decide to go to grad school until my senior year in undergrad. I feel like it was. I learned a lot in Michigan, prepared myself for my future. You can always learn more, need more knowledge always, but I do feel like it prepared me. I mean, COVID kind of ruined a few things, but not enough to say I wasn't prepared. So I would say a year is long enough for me. I think I ran my path.
Yeah, I would echo that, Julia. I'm also advanced standing, and the big thing for me after entering the program, I was also like, am I gonna be good at the year? Am I really gonna be okay? But the field experience for me was what really gave me a lot of confidence in my skills. It was a place where I could integrate what I'm learning in classes into field. So it's definitely quick, but you'll be prepared. Most people are prepared by the time we leave.
Okay, we're going to get into the next question. Are there campus gyms that we can use for free if they reopen? I know Munger has a gym. It's closed right now, but I don't know if they're going to reopen for the next semester or not. But there are on-campus gyms around. There's 3. There's also an app that shows you how many people are in the gym, how many people are in the treadmill, in the pool, so you can know before you go. So there are gyms around campus, but I'm not sure if they will reopen when the next school year or not. Okay. I'm going to look at some more questions. How close are the commuter lots to the School of Social Work? If not, is there a shuttle bus nearby that can drop us off close to the building? Is it free? So I know there's a lot of commuter lots that people use. There's actually one right next to Munger. I personally don't have a car, so I don't really know much about the commuter lots, but I use the bus to go from, well, since I live right next to the school of social work, I don't really use the bus for that, but for my internship, I do use the bus to go from my apartment to the my agency, and I'm always on the bus, so I use the bus usually every day. And it is free with your AM card. You just have to swipe in. It's free. Anybody else have any experiences with commuter lots?
Uh, I've gone with friends because I have a friend that sometimes would take me with her, and she also lives in Ipsy. We would go to a commuter lot, and it would literally drop us off in front of the School of Social Work. So that's always an option. And then going back home was really great as well because the bus would go right in front of the School of Social Work, and it would drop us off at the commuter lot. And then from there, we would drive back home, which is very convenient. Um, that's always an option if people are interested in that as well.
Yeah, I just add, so when we were driving to the school to work for in-person classes, I was exclusively driving to a commuter lot and busing into Central Campus, and there's pretty much a commuter lot at every sort of around the edge of Ann Arbor. So there's one almost in every area. There are some that are closer to the center of Ann Arbor, and so no matter what direction you're kind of coming from, there's probably one that is from the direction that you're driving in. And even actually, if you're in Ann Arbor and want to park in a commuter lot and take a bus into campus, that could be a good option for you. You can buy parking passes on UMish's campus, but the commuter lots are free. And so definitely take advantage of those. There's a lot of routes that will take you directly to the Central Campus Transit Center, which is the CCTC. And yeah, that's like 5 to 10 minute walk to the School of Social Work from there. And some will even drop you off closer. So I definitely recommend the commuter lots. And two, they tend to be at like the first stop on the line if you're coming in the morning. So you like get a seat on the bus and it will fill up as time goes on. But if you're coming from a commuter lot, usually it's one of the first stops or so. So you're able to get a seat. So I've had a good experience. I recommend that.
Thank you guys for sharing. I see some more questions coming in. Is there on-campus parking for off-campus students? We kind of just answered that about the commuter lots. There are parking, but there's meters, so you have to pay every time. Like I said, I don't have a car, so do you guys know more about that?
Yeah, besides, paying in a meter or in one of the garages that are around Central Campus, you can buy a parking pass. I looked into this as an option when I was coming to campus. There are different prices depending on, they're sorted by colors, so I don't remember quite what each one means off the top of my head. So if any of you have a parking pass, feel free to kind of jump in. But so you can look for those options. I would highly recommend that if you want to buy a parking pass, that you just look at the map ahead of time of where those parking lots are for the color that you want to buy, just to make sure it actually makes sense to do that for you. And just know that these parking lots aren't like assigned parking, and so they can fill up. And so you'll need to know the location of a few different lots that you're able to park in depending on your pass. So you can opt for that option. But again, I highly recommend commuter lots, even if you're within Ann Arbor, because there's likely one that's maybe, 5-10 minute drive away from you. And then you can bus in for about 15 minutes to Central Campus. And if the time, it's up to you whether paying for a metered spot or in a parking garage is more worth it than the time spent. You kind of just have to weigh that out for yourself.
Jordan, do you know, is there a specific time that it fills up the most?
So since I don't have a parking pass, I'm not 100% certain, but I've heard from others that even faculty who have to kind of go through this process, that it's a busy in the morning when you're getting into campus, because that's kind of when everybody is. And so if you get there a little bit earlier, you might have better odds.
Thank you.
I can answer that too. So I would suggest if you like, there were times where I know I wasn't going to be on time. So my only option was to either try to find metered parking or park in the parking garages. I wouldn't recommend it. If you're going to be there, like I only did it if I knew I didn't want to take the bus because you do have to wait for the bus, unfortunately. So just depending on weather and other circumstances, I didn't use it as a long-term solution. It was just like for emergencies only. Um, there is also some free parking, but it's like blocks away from the School of Social Work, and it's like for 4-hour blocks. But those fill up really fast too. They have some 2-hour blocks and then some 4-hour blocks, and they'll say what they are on the street. You can get ticketed if you're over like the time, but those are free and they're about 3 to 4 blocks away from the School of Social Work. Some people use them, but then you also have to consider like what's around the School of Social Work. So I think I've seen a lot of business students use that. So people from the B school will use that parking, or if there's like a short event trying to get parking that way. So there are a lot of options, but if the bus was useful if I knew I was going to be on campus for a long time. And if it was something short term, or if I knew I was like running behind, then I used the metered or um, the parking garages. And they do usually fill up like mid-afternoon because the one closest to the School of Social Work is a public parking lot. So it's not just like faculty, you have people coming in from campus. So just kind of be aware of that. They do have like the spaces available. I'll say Friday afternoons are really, really busy. But throughout the week, it varies. But Fridays are probably like the busiest, especially when it's warmer outside.
Thank you, Alicia. I did see a question about what are some of your favorite hangout spots in Ann Arbor? For me, I like going to the mall, Briarwood. State Street and South University is pretty cool. I know State Street now, they have it blocked off every weekend. And they have like sales and stuff going on right now in restaurants outside because of COVID. But I know a lot of people hang out downtown in Arbor. Um, any other places you guys like to hang out in Ann Arbor?
This is in the context of before COVID, so take all of this as you will, but they recently renovated the student union, which is, no, is that what it's called?
Yes.
Name of the building. Okay. The student union is this like gorgeous old building right down the street from the School of Social Work. It's just like a building on main campus, so it's open to everyone. But they recently renovated it, and the inside is beautiful. There's a ton of seating. There's a Sweetwater's coffee shop in there, which I find makes delicious coffee. And there's like a Panera. So that's a really great place once it opens up again. If you want to step out of the social work building between classes or find just kind of a different place to hang out. I really, really enjoyed that building. Other than that, there's a ton of coffee shops, a ton of restaurants. And then the School of Social Work is also right across the street from the Diag, which is the central spot of Central Campus. And there's lots of like grassy spots to hang out when it's not snowing outside. That's also a really nice place to be outside when that's an option.
I think for me in Ypsilanti, my favorite coffee shop is Cultivate. It's like a nonprofit coffee shop place. It's really neat. There's always a lot of people there. Obviously, this is prior to COVID. So it's a really great place to go. It's near that depot town that I had mentioned before. So it's a really great spot to take a walk and just enjoy. Also, there's the Ann Arbor Arboretum if you want to take a walk and just take in nature. It's a really great place. There's a lot of open fields and open space for you to hang out. The Huron River passes by there, so you could see the current past, and it's really neat to just sit around and take in the view. Try to think of other spots that I've gone to study. Definitely the graduate library. I'm not sure if it's open right now, but I'm sure once it eventually opens, you can even reserve like private, I think they call them like reading carousels, and it's really neat. You get a key and everything, and it's like a room that you can reserve for yourself for the week. And it has a really great view of all of Ann Arbor. So I've used a lot of the reading carousels. It was very useful. It was very quiet because for me, I like to work in quiet spaces. Versus in open spaces, because if not, I'm just going to start talking. So that's really a great option if you want to for studying, and definitely coffee shops and everything that everyone else mentioned are also places that I definitely went to with friends. Yeah.
Thank you. Another question I see is, if I choose off-campus housing, is it possible for me to find School of Social Work students as my roommates? I know even though I don't live off campus, I do have a friend that lives off campus, and she did use the School of Social Work roommate finder, and she lives in Glencoe Apartments, not maybe 15 minutes. I believe that's still Ann Arbor. I'm not sure. But those apartments are also on the bus route, and her roommate is also going to the School of Social Work, and they're both from Chicago. So they have some similarities between the both of them. Do anybody else have any, experience or knowledge about the School of Social Work roommate finder?
That's actually a really great question. So I had a roommate. He graduated in the summer, so he left in May. And I was actually able to find someone from the School of Social Work who I already knew. We were in the same seed mini course together. He actually moved in this week. So it was really great to have someone from the School of Social Work, someone that I already knew, move in with me. It's been great so far. So definitely, I would say, like what Julius had mentioned, the roommate finder is an option, but also like looking to the peers in your cohort. They might be finding or looking for roommates, because his roommate also was a 12-month student, and so they graduated in the summer as well. So it was like perfect timing, where we were able to like make it work, because I don't graduate till December, but he doesn't graduate till winter. So it was a really great option. So I would also think about that. If you are going to have a roommate, maybe when they'll graduate, maybe when the leases will be up, and sort of like figure that ahead of time as well. Maybe talk to the people that may be in the same boat, like, oh, I graduate this time, and then if you have to move, you can move in with someone else, so that you don't have to like rush to find housing.
Tammy, did you have any, I know that she was about to say something.
Yes, so other than the School social work roommate finding, so there is another platform provided by the University of Michigan, and it's kind of roommate finding. It's off-campus roommate finding. You can just like use your UMich account and register in there. And I will just share the links here. It's very convenient. You just like upload your profile and type all your interests and what's your preference and what kind of rooms you want to live in the future, and what kind of hobbies you have and what kind of habitats you have, and then just like share all of your profile with another person, and you guys can match with each other. You can search all the profile files provided by other students, and you can also be chosen by other students. They will come to match with you, so it's very convenient, just like the double side. So yeah, I will share with you guys here.
Thank you. Another similar question I see is, are there housing groups to find off-campus housing, like Facebook groups and etc.?
One resource that I know some people have utilized in the past has been your a cohort Facebook page. So that's not something that's made by the school, but I do believe in past webinars, some people have mentioned that there is one for your cohort. And so that's a place where some people say, like, looking for a roommate, or does anyone want to join me and my current roommates? So that can be a place. I also know of some people, just like friends of mine, who utilize like networks from their undergrad, or like someone I was talking to was like, yeah, I have my sorority from undergrad has a like nationwide network to help people find housing. So like those sorts of kind of not necessarily U of M related, but just other networks might also be a good resource too.
Thank you, Janelle. Are there any, what are the best places to live off campus in Ypsilanti and in Ann Arbor?
That's a really good question. I would promote Ypsilanti for being cheaper, which was definitely kind of a big draw for me. And I live in an apartment complex owned by McKinley. They own like a ton of different apartments across Ypsilanti and Ann Arbor, and I found them to be really well maintained. Management has been pretty good as well. So if you're looking for apartments around town, that might be a place to start. Yeah, there's a lot of them, and they range price and amenities to kind of fit your style, but that might be a place to start.
I also lived at a McKinley apartment complex, and just like Janelle said, depending on where you want to live, some of them have different amenities. For sure, my apartment complex has like pools and like a small gym, but definitely look around. Maybe that's a place to start. They have like a lot of different living complexes, so you could definitely look for that. I live in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, and for the price that I'm paying for it is actually a pretty good price compared to other areas for the same. And yeah, so it's definitely look around. If you want to get something that's more tailored to your budget, definitely look into Ipsy. But yeah.
Yeah, like I mentioned before, Glencoe is pretty nice, pretty not too far. It's on the bus route. I believe my friend pays like maybe $500 for rent, and they have 2 swimming pools, a gym, things like that, plenty of parking, and it's close to other stores like grocery stores and things like that. So I'll also recommend Glencoe also. I believe that's in Ann Arbor, but I'm not sure. It might be Ipsy, but I think it's Ann Arbor.
I actually think that one is also owned by McKinley, if I'm thinking of it right. McKinley owns a lot of apartment complexes in Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti.
Julia, that's pretty good that you're bringing that up. Maybe we could talk about like groceries that are nearby, or like other things that you need for like, everyday living. I know for me, there's a Fresh Time like less than a mile away from me, which is like, they still like, it's kind of like a Trader Joe's, if people know what a Trader Joe's. We also have Trader Joe's, so like organic food options. There's maybe like a Costco and a Sam's Club, maybe like a 10-15 minute drive from my place. If you're looking into that, getting a membership, and if you have a roommate, definitely getting memberships to like split the cost of things. What else is there? I know there's also Kroger's, a lot of down on Washtenaw. So there's, at least in the area that I am in, there's a lot of options. I don't know about everybody else's where they live.
I know for before I got into this suite, there were people already here, and they did use Costco to split up some of the costs of like paper towels and dish detergent and things like that. For me, I do go to Kroger more often because it's closer. There's 2 Krogers by Munger, sort of. I've been to Trader Joe's a few times. It's kind of expensive, but I've been there a few times. I know there's Whole Foods, kind of close. It used to be a Walmart before it shut down. Myers is not too far for me. And can't think of anything else, but usually I go to Kroger's.
I frequent Aldi. I'm a budget person, someone who's quite frugal, and Aldi is like everything in the store is off brand. So not necessarily high quality, but like super cheap, and they have kind of your basic food stuff. And there's one in Ypsilanti and there's one in Ann Arbor. And then I also frequent Meijer is my other grocery store for the more, I don't know, whatever I need to supplement whatever Aldi can give me. So those are the 2 I frequent. I'm also by a Fresh Time. There's also, I know there's Plum Markets, but I think those are like super expensive, more upscale, lots of organic stuff, more like a Whole Foods from my understanding. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of options for groceries. And that might be something to think about if you're not going to have a car, and you are just planning on taking the bus everywhere, is how close are you to a grocery store, and like what does that mean for like how often you can get groceries, so something else to think about as trying to figure out where to live.
Something else. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Also, there is a pantry for students. They have free food for students. I believe you just have to show your M card, and there's a pantry across from the student activities building. I believe that's what it's called. And you can get free grocery from there. So that could be another option.
Yeah. There's also in Ypsilanti, I'm sure they have some in Ann Arbor. Oh my gosh, farmers markets. I know that the ones in Ypsi has opened up again with social distancing measures. So that's also an option if you do farmers markets and things of that nature.
I know there's also a farmers market in downtown Ann Arbor. Carytown, it's just a little like section of Ann Arbor where there's like a shop, and if you've ever heard of Zingerman's, that's where Zingerman's is. And I know that farmers market is open as well, with lots of measures in place, of course. But those are also really great options for like getting fresh produce, supporting local places like that too.
Thank you, guys. Tammy, did you have some off-campus information you want to share?
Yes, of course. So other than some places like Argo Village, I think, I'm not sure, just like somewhere near to the Trader Joe's or somewhere near to some supermarkets, there was a virtual off-campus housing fair. I think was hosted last month. So we have the recording. If anyone wants to know something about off-campus housing, maybe in Ann Arbor, there is this recording just to tell you how many housings were provided in the downtown and Arbor, and what types of rooms they will provide, and different types of rooms and different price. So you can just reach out to this link, and in the later we will share with you guys, and you can go to this recording and to say how many rooms they have, and they even will tell you. It's kind of just like the housing tour, virtual housing tour. They will let you know the different types of the room. Yes, I think that yes.
Thank you, Tammy. Another option for housing is to become an RA. That's always another option. I was going to become an RA, but when I applied for the application, I was in a different state, so it was like an hour behind, so I applied late. So I was kind of like at the bottom of the list. But RAs, you get free housing, which is always great. I think there's a RA on each floor of Munger, and there's 7 living floors. Martha Cook had a few RAs, and also they had a graduate student advisor that dealt with the graduate students in different activities. So that is an option that you can apply on the UMich housing website. Let me see. Also, if you apply for on-campus housing like Martha Cook, Munger, Northwood, Henderson House, things like that, and if you don't have a reply within 3 weeks or even 2 weeks, I would definitely recommend you reaching out and emailing the housing department. I know I've seen another question about the train station. If there's a train station in Ann Arbor for long trips, anybody have any information about that?
I know there is a train. I don't know anything about it though.
Yeah.
It does exist though. I know that.
Oh, there is an Amtrak station.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can't say I've personally used it before. Unfortunately, public transit isn't always the best around Metro Detroit, but there is an Amtrak station in Ann Arbor, and I believe we linked to it in the Q&A chat. So feel free to check out the link there and see kind of where those routes are.
Do you guys have any other questions that you've seen that I may have missed? Also, Northwood, like I mentioned before, is another option. However, it is kind of far from the School of Social Work. It's on North Campus, so if you don't have a car, I would definitely recommend getting the bus down to the School of Social Work. But if you do have a car, there is they have parking lots for residents, so that's a good option also. But it is kind of far.
Yeah, Julia, one thing I want to mention here is due to the COVID-19, I think one thing you have to double check with your landlord before you sign the lease is that do you need to be self-quarantined for 14 days, something like that, before you arriving at Michigan. Because from the on-campus housing, so we have some COVID-19 public health informed housing policies. So which means before you arrive for move in to the on-campus housing, just like each resident should self-quarantine for 14 days. So just an advice for all the students: if you sign the lease or sign the contract with off-campus leasing office, you have to make sure does there any kind of policies related to COVID-19 you have to follow up. Yeah. So yeah.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Thank you for that. One last question before we end. I see a question about walking to different things such as the School of Social Work and your apartment. For me, I live in Munger. I used to live in Martha Cook. So I walk to the School of Social Work every time, which is not that far unless it's snowing. But I did walk usually every day that I had classes. And then when I had my internship, I took the bus. I also see a question about RAs in Northwood. That I'm not sure about. I don't believe they do because it's a different housing situation, but there might be RAs in Northwood. They should have them, but I'm not sure about that. I only know about Munger and Martha Cook's RA situation.
Yeah, I know from Northwood there's also a commuter bus, kind of like the commuter lots, because Northwood is on the north side of campus, so it's on North Campus. There's a shuttle that takes you into Central Campus. I don't know anyone from the MSW program who lives in Northwood. Just like I personally haven't met them, but I do know a lot of other grad students who live there, and it seems like a pretty good place to live. They've got like their own gym. It's really nice. Like Julia mentioned before, it can come like furnished or unfurnished, so it can fit your needs pretty well if on-campus housing is something you want to look into.
Yeah, so I'm going to live in those campus for next fall term. And as for the commuter services, I think it's very convenient because the Blue Bus, even though under this kind of COVID-19 situation, it's kind of just like to create some shuttles, but it's also convenient. And as for you think about maybe you will get lost, I want to say because Blue Bus from the North Campus to Central Campus is kind of a round way. Either way you take on the bus, you will finally get arrive at the Central Campus. So maybe at the very beginning you will get lost, but yeah, no worry about that. Just like maybe for one or twice, and the next time you will figure out. Yeah.
Yeah. When I came here, I felt like I was independent, but definitely living in Michigan and taking the bus made me even more independent and responsible because I took the bus a lot. Blake Transit Center, starting at Blake Transit Center also helped me getting the apps, the Google Maps, and the Track It Transit, something like that, the app. Because some of the buses do be late, so that app tells you if it's 5 minutes late or where is it, and that's very helpful. I've got lost a few times, but it kind of was my fault because I never really took the bus before until I came here, but it was a learning experience. Now I feel like I'm low-key a professional, but yeah, it gets some time to get used to, but I wouldn't be worried about it because the buses run a lot, so you might have to sit and wait for a few minutes, but they're going to come. And also, there's always buses. Like, I see buses all the time. So I wouldn't really worry about getting lost that often.
I would also say, just as an addition for the buses specifically, there's some pretty good apps that track the buses that you can download if you want. I think I had the transit app when I was on campus more often. And it relies on like user data. So you can actually press it when you're riding the bus. And so it actually fine tunes estimations on when the bus will arrive for other riders, which is kind of nice. I think there was a new app that just came out at maybe the middle of last semester, maybe the Magic app or something like that for blue buses, which are U of M buses. So definitely check those out. They're really good, and you can map out your route ahead of time if you want to get to a certain place. They're really useful. Yeah, Magic Bus app. Yep. That's what it's called. And so definitely use those maps. Like don't feel like I don't know. I feel like sometimes when you're new on a campus, especially if you're a grad student, maybe there's a sense of like you need to feel like you know what you're doing all the time. But I relied on maps heavily when I first came to campus, like walking directions, bus apps. Like, yeah, don't worry about using those. They're super helpful, and there's no reason not to if you need them. So you'll get used to campus in time. Familiarity is what really is helpful. But yeah, don't be afraid to rely on those things as you need it at first.
Yeah, for sure using your maps. And then I will say if you're an MSW student, if most of your classes are within social work, most of your classes will be within the building of social work, unless you're taking a class that is outside of the department, and that's when you might actually have to leave the School of Social Work or actually travel around the school. But still definitely get a map just in case because again, you can take classes outside of the School of Social Work at some of your, if you're able to get electives in your course planning. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. If I could just jump in really quick, I will say I did take an elective outside of the School of Social Work, and it was in the art and architecture building. And so when I signed up for the class, it's urban planning. I was super excited for it. And then I realized it was not on Central Campus, and that the art and architecture building is on the north end of campus. And I had no familiarity with that whatsoever. It was okay. Again, I had to use my maps for a little bit and get used to the routes between the two, but it was totally fine. So don't let that stop you from taking things that aren't in Central Campus. But you will want to look up where your buildings are if they're outside of the School of Social Work, just to make sure you know where you're headed.
Thank you, guys. Well, I believe we answered all our questions. We're going to wrap it up. And that concludes our housing webinar for the School of Social Work. I want to thank everybody for coming, the attendees and the panelists that shared their experiences. I really appreciate it. And thank you.